Hi, welcome to the Creature Show. I'm Jared Rosenbaum. We're coming to you today from the top of a giant boulder in the Sauerland Mountains of New Jersey. There are approximately 1.5 million animal species that have been identified by scientists so far. Every show we're going to introduce you to a handful of them, starting with salamanders. So, I spent a lot of time out in the woods, but the first time I saw salamander migration here in the Sauerlands, I was astonished because here were these glistening, colorful, big creatures that I had never ever seen in the woods before, and they were just crossing the wood in mass, these spotted salamanders. Completely spectacular. It was like dragons had emerged from under the rocks for this one night of the year. Today we're going to be talking about the genus Ambystoma. In the genus there are 5 salamanders in New Jersey: spotted salamander, blue spotted salamander, Jefferson salamander, marbled salamander, and eastern tiger salamander. Okay, in our first ever field segment of the Creature Show, we headed out to Warren County to Shades of Death Road to check out the migration action. So we're on Shades of Death Road in Warren County in the New Jersey Highlands. Jenny Jump State Forest up that way, and a vernal pond somewhere down along there that spotted salamanders, wood frogs, spring peepers are on their way to. Trying to help them across the road. This is when they migrate. It's been a long winter and it's almost into April now. The first warm spring rain. One of the things I noticed trying to find interesting spots in New Jersey to naturalize is that places with foreboding place names or road names are often a good bet. Like Mountain Road, that's pretty good. Ridge Road, promising. Hollow Road, good. Dark Hollow Road, getting better. Shades of Death Road has got to be the best. So, you know, like these foreboding, like Dismal Swamp kind of places, they're named that for a reason because they always were a little bit difficult for people. And of course, that's where we have our last remaining really diverse wild areas. It's pretty gory out here. There's a lot of animals getting across, but there's also, you know, you don't have to look long before finding something like this. Frogs and salamanders, upside down, bleeding, squashed.
I can't imagine anything cooler than being able to go out in the middle of the night and know a little bit about the biology of these animals and therefore be able to make a contribution on a conservation level, but also be able to see them interact with their environment firsthand. It's just the most amazing thing in the world.
So this is a spotted salamander, Ambystoma maculata. They're crossing the road to go down to the vernal pools, or like an ephemeral wetland, so it's only filled with water in the spring. And they lay their eggs in there because there are no fish able to live in the pools, so they don't have anything that's going to eat their eggs.
Hey, oh, they got a Jefferson.
They got a Jefferson?
Really? Yeah.
We're not just helping these amphibians cross the road so they can get to these migratory pools and saving them from cars, but we're taking a bunch of census data for biologists to both look into the past, present, and future and see how these populations are shifting over time.
Okay, so these are wood frog eggs. There's probably about 1,000 eggs in this egg mass. So these eggs were laid probably about a week ago, and they'll hatch anywhere from 10 days to 30 days depending on the temperature of the water. And it's still pretty cold up here in central Jersey. I think it was probably about 28 degrees last night. So these are still a couple weeks away from hatching, but when they do, they'll become tadpoles, and those tadpoles will grow for about 2 more months in the pools before they become frogs and hop away. So these are spotted salamander eggs, and this is what the big fuss is all about. This is why the salamanders cross the road, gather in these pools. Each egg mass like this probably has about 200 salamander eggs, only a few of which will live to adulthood. But those that do live to be adults, a spotted salamander could live to be 20 years old. The oldest one on record is 32 years old. So that's how old I am. So I can meet a salamander out on the road that was born on the same year I was, which is pretty crazy. So I'm gonna put these guys back so they're safe and sound and continue growing.
Welcome back. I'd like to introduce our first ever creature show biologist, Brian Zarate from the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife's Endangered and Non-Game Species Program. Brian, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Brian, how dangerous is it for salamanders to cross the road?
Oy, it's pretty dire. Here in New Jersey, where we have this very dense road network, second densest in the U.S. to Rhode Island, salamanders often have a very difficult time crossing the road. In some cases, we found that 70% of the animals that are attempting to cross are dying from vehicle-caused road mortality.
We've got some footage of a brand new wildlife crossing in Somerset County. Let's go to that clip.
We're here at River Road in Bedminster Township, Somerset County, New Jersey, and what we're looking at is kind of the final implemented design of a wildlife crossing structure. Yeah, the idea of trying to reduce road mortality and get animals safely across roadways or barriers like roadways, people try all different things. They put up signs, they organize events where folks come out on rainy nights to physically move animals across a roadway. Sometimes they even do temporary road closures. Unfortunately, all those things, while effective in the short term, aren't really a kind of a permanent solution to getting wildlife back and forth across that roadway. And so what we hope River Road tunnels are an example of as a fairly permanent solution that is sitting out here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year round, to accommodate wildlife anytime they choose to try to cross it.
You think this is gonna work?
I do. There's been a lot of smart people that have spent a lot of time thinking about this design. We've had great partnerships with the township in implementing this design. And what Montclair is here to do is to help us kind of showcase how effective these are at reducing road mortality and allowing animals to do what they want to do. Blue-spotted salamanders, if you were to look on a map, they're actually North America's most kind of northerly distributed salamander, which is pretty cool in of itself. But New Jersey, along this kind of eastern Atlantic seaboard, represents kind of the bottom, the bottom of that range. Yeah, Great Swamp's a really cool place. It's kind of towards the bottom end of an old kind of glacial lake. So it's a big basin, kind of bottomland, hardwood, swamp forest. And, blue-spotted salamanders love that kind of habitat. So, with the preservation of that land, that Great Swamp, they've secured really what's kind of probably, the southernmost extent of blue-spotted salamanders, not only in New Jersey, but also within the entire East Coast.
I think we're about 26 miles away from Times Square right now. I drove up on Route 287, major interstate in New Jersey, got off the highway, really had to take a leak. The whole time until I got into the Great Swamp itself, I was just looking for one little patch of woods that I could pull over, just discreetly. Nothing.
Now, you think there's blue-spotted salamanders in this pool?
Well, they were definitely here at some point because they oviposited all these eggs. The hope is that second wave of movement out of the pools hasn't occurred yet, and it's going to allow us to see some blue-spotted salamanders still in the water. This is a dead blue-spotted salamander. Hard to say why this one didn't make it.
Was that salamander murdered?
It's possible. She may have gotten caught out on a cold night, winter kill, or any other variety of reasons.
This pool is obviously really abundant. There's egg masses all over the place. There's wood frogs, there's newts, you can hear the peepers, but Brian still hasn't found a blue-spotted salamander in there yet.
We have no idea how long it took to find this guy, but here he is. Beautiful, well worth the effort.
We're starting to see there's all these different pathogens and diseases moving through environments that are causing these severe collapse. Things that are coming from other places are a little bit outside of a state's kind of control. That's going to have to happen, that dialogue at the national level, in terms of imports, exports, so on and so forth. What we try to do is to minimize our risk and minimize our role in spreading these things. So, one thing we do is we follow a decontamination protocol. That was established by the Northeast Partners in Amphibian and Reptile Conservation, a large Northeast and national group that thinks a lot about this kind of stuff. And so we try to take the gear that we're using, moving between different wetland sites, and give it a good cleaning. And these techniques have been recognized to really kind of minimize the spread of some of these different diseases.
Brian, what needs to happen to make sure that New Jersey still has its mole salamanders 100 years from now?
Yeah, a couple different things. Figure out where they are now, try to understand where they may be that we haven't yet looked, and then, kind of protect those areas. And then kind of think about, what will they need in 100 years? Are they going to stay exactly where they are, or are they going to move? So, work on identifying, what those future corridors may look like. If we can do all those things, with all of our different conservation partners, I think there's a good chance in 100 years, those species will still persist here in New Jersey.
Brian, just want to thank you so much for joining us today on The Creature Show.
Appreciate it. The pleasure is mine.